Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast for Kamen Rider Zero-One. I am Vashi V, and joining me today is.
Rye,
And zero.
welcome to the podcast where the one time everyone shows up on time, we waste 10 minutes talking about Sentai instead.
And the sad thing is that almost caused me to screw up the intro. Because as I was getting ready to say Kamen Rider, my brain went, no, we were just talking about Rear Soldier. My brain is dumb sometimes.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, I would probably screw that up if I was doing it too. Anyway, before we get started, we had a comment on the last Rider video
Oh,
by Rockman Fan 100. Um, and they just basically said, Izu doesn't have a backup because she's the secretary. Yeah, that's a good point,
Which,
right? Like,
that is something we had forgotten about, because
wait, is
I
that real?
believe. Yes, because
that's right.
that all came up when
Was.
her brother was going to off himself. Or decided to off himself, because they're not backed up. They're not connected to the arc, so there's no backup.
yeah, well, I mean, but basically the reason is they have too much information, so like they can't be backed up. Like, yeah, like Vashi said, like the detective didn't have a backup because he was Aruto's grandfather's like assistant, and like Izu doesn't have a backup because she's the assistant to the president. So like you can't have like company secrets getting out. Basically, that's the reasoning. But yeah, she doesn't have a backup either.
Which does throw a wrench into our, Izu getting turned shit.
Well, I mean, she could still be turned, but now it's way more dangerous.
Right, because there's no backup for her to come back to. It's like she would have to start from scratch.
Yeah, which I mean, the
Which-
face swapping one can still be like a possibility, but the whole that like, oh, they just got another version of Izu. It's like, yeah, that's not happening. I mean, like they might have like copies of Izu, but she's not gonna have her memories.
So,
Right, it would be the setup of like the original, the original ones that were just getting often just basically remade.
so I recently
Like Mr.
played a video game called AI: The Somnium Files. Now, for those of you who have not played this game, spoiler warning, skip ahead like 5 minutes or something. The main character is missing his left eye, and so he has a mechanical one which has an AI built into it. And he's a detective, so she helps him like solve crimes. Her name is Iba. Basically, towards the end of the game, one of the characters is hacking into her system to delete all of her data, including her cloud backup, so that she can stop helping him for plot reasons. But then you find out, like at the very end, she's rebuilt and she still has all her data and stuff because the original computer that she was linked to created a secondary backup that was spread out across multiple like different computers and such, hidden in small pieces that were unnoticeable, and it just had to like bring them all back together.
Yeah. So okay, I mean, like on a technical level, yeah, it makes sense because you just created a backup file and you just made it into a torrent, right? Um, but it's like that kind of like fucking defeats. See yeah, that would work in the show, but like,
Like
man, can we
it would
stop fucking doing Decade? I'm sick of doing Decade.
like it would work well in the show in the aspect of she has a connection to the satellite Zaya. The satellite Zaya can basically do it at any time. The satellite Zaya is literally doing things of its own free will to, for what's best for according to the plan and, whatnot. So it could realize it's getting to this point and back her up on its own. I think it would be stupid, but it would be a passable explanation.
I mean, at this point, like, okay, so there's that one, and then my other thing is like Zaya exists, right? But the whole thing, like in this episode, we figure out is like, oh, you just have to push the hidden like AIs, and just piss them off when like humans do something. So I'm like, right. So like, what if like Zaya becomes ticked off, right? And then she just corrupts Izu. So I'm like, okay, like
Well,
that's a possibility
okay,
too. So I'm
so
like, yeah.
the whole making them mad thing is that the human gears wirelessly connect to the arc, which infects them without the need of the keys.
Yeah, I know, but
So Satellite
the
Zaya, as long as it shouldn't just turn evil.
yeah, I know, but like the thing is like, okay, for all we're worrying about, like there's a chance that that's not true. It's fucking like this show and X8, so it's like Nizu might change her mind. We don't know, but basically, so like the thing is like Zaya might somehow, for whatever reason, could somehow connect to the arc. Like maybe she connects to Izu and Izu was connected to the arc and she gets infected or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is like there's a possibility that like Zaya gets infected and then Izu gets infected, right? Um, but again, that's just like way too speculative at this point.
Like it's one of those. There's multiple ways for it to happen. Some seem more not. I wouldn't say legitimate, but more par for the course. And like the reason why to me like the Zaya won't get infected is because well we've already got the fucking arc. We don't need another evil satellite.
Yeah, I know. But what I was thinking is like maybe it gets infected and then you just have like Shining Hopper has like the body. Oh no, that's the giant mech robot thing. But whatever. Like then you just get like Arto and Izu, and they're basically having like this is all the rider tech in one form, and then this is all the AI in one form, and they have to work together thing going
So
on.
like the thing about like the two satellites is that the arc is the evil one trying to destroy humanity, and Zaya is like trying to protect humanity because you know when the arc built the assault key, like Zaya scanned it and made sure that Aruto was able to use one as well.
No, I know it makes sense, but I'm just saying like story reasons. They could just like, if they ever need to, like they could get rid of Zaya because like Izu exists, right? Like character wise, like Zaya is actually a little bit disposable,
Well, what I'm saying is that Zaya seems to
but
be
it's
like the
unlikely.
secret mastermind for the riders.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like there's a lot going on, and like honestly, there's pretty much. Okay, here's the thing. There's no reason for any of this crap we just talked about to happen, because yeah, there are plot lines that could use this, but like there's enough shit going on that you don't need this.
So like what we're watching is we're watching like the humans versus the terrorists. But what I'm saying is what's actually happening is like we're watching Zaya versus the Ark. That's like the real battle going on, and then the riders and the Metsubo Jinrai. They're all just like chess pieces.
Yeah, I know it makes sense. Um, but like I'm just talking more from a storytelling point of view. It's like, well, like you could technically write this plot line. Like I'm not saying it's necessary because yeah, you're right. Like the good AI and the evil AI is a pretty decent dynamic that they really don't have to change. I'm saying they just could if they wanted to. Anyway, it's more of just theoretical plot lines being thrown out there. More for just like writing exercise, I guess. Whatever. Um, yeah. So this episode.
So, round one, flower arrangement goes to Zaya. Round two will be real estate. Uh, really just about raising profits, kind of thing. Uh, Izu selects a Humagear to represent Hiden and makes a pun about it. And the Zaya team member insults her pun, and Izu gets mad.
Which was the greatest moment.
She like straight up makes a face at him, like,
And she makes
"Urgh."
a face and growls at him.
Yep. Humanity was doomed because you didn't laugh at her joke. Goddamn, Skynet got pissed because you didn't like her jokes.
The thing I loved about this was I had somebody else's reaction as I watched this. Because I've mentioned it before on the podcast, I'm watching Rider with Pixie, and we're jumping from various series to series as we finish them. We ended up both having the time to watch the episode together. Watching or hearing Pixie laugh her ass off and go, "Oh, that's so cute," was amazing. Because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, that is the exact reaction I had.
Yeah, that was pretty great. Yes, Arto continues to corrupt people around him. But to be fair, this also like okay, this is one of those things where it's like, yeah, the like puns are really bad, but like they were clearly done for a reason. It wasn't just humor like in X-Aid. Like the tripping doesn't have a point, right? It's just there for comedy. Sort of. I mean, well, it's to show that like he's not super serious yet, or he's not in serious mode unless he's gaming. But in this show, the puns actually have much more of a purpose because like Arto's kind of stopped throwing the puns out there. Well, he doesn't do it as much. Like Izu has started picking that up, so it's like it's a way of like transferring like character. Like it's showing Izu's growth by using this trope that the show has. So that's well done.
Like, to me, the weird thing with it is, and the biggest difference between like this and Zero or X Age is, let's be funny for the sake of thinking this is funny, a la the clumsy emo. It's like, this is just, that's who he is. Like, he started this show as a fucking comedian. So in theory, this has been his existence up until now. So it's not something that's just it's not something that's just going to stop. He honestly, he truly hasn't really backed off of it. It's just Izu's been making the puns before him.
Because she's an AI, she can make the jump.
Well, at least she's making better puns, but I mean, still, it's kind of getting lost in translation from like Japanese to English. But you know,
Then this is one thing I'm really thankful for TV Nihon about, is them actually putting in what the Japanese equivalent would be to why it's a pun and why it's funny. Because like going from English, because what is it, house and yay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was a pun. Yeah, that makes no fucking sense to us. That just seems stupid. But because of it's a spelling thing.
Yeah, I think in this case it's more of a sound thing, but yeah, it's a very like language based pun. So it's like yeah, unless it's like the worst shit in the world. It's like yeah, Japanese is a very like linguistically punny language. Like there's a ton of humor, and the thing is like that kind of humor is like fucking awful to translate. It's not Japanese. It's literally just like any language to any other language. Like because yeah, the words that mean the same thing don't rhyme in your language as they do in the original, right? Or they don't have the same significance. So it's like yeah, we can talk the ideas the same, but like when you try to make the same jokes, it doesn't work because like the words are literally different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout Factory has been subbing Sentai, and situations where like, oh hey, this character is asking a riddle, they've just straight up replaced it with a different riddle that makes sense in English.
Ah, man. I mean,
Yeah.
just one of those situations where it's like it depends on like each subbing group. Um, kind of. That's like translation. Okay, this is like localization versus translation. And the thing is, like, I always come down on the side of translation. It's like just do the original thing, just put a
Yeah.
translator's note on top and saying what the hell this means.
So it's like
Uh,
I don't
Like
want like because Japanese honorifics are different than like American prefixes. Don't they can't just be swapped one for the other.
and that's one thing I used to hate Crunchyroll for, because Crunchyroll was bad with it to start with. Same thing with Netflix and Hulu. They were terrible with switching and using the prefixes rather than the honorifics. Like in certain ones, it's not hard to do. Anything Hime, you can literally just go, well, princess, whoever. I mean, that's literally what that one is.
Yeah.
But
right.
like but the san, chan, kun, like all that, it all means roughly the same thing. It's just different variations of like where you are in that relationship. Like
Yeah.
it signifies how close you are. You know,
They're
Oh,
higher,
different
and
forms
lower.
of respect.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of that, man. Like, especially if you know, like Ryuki, like holy shit.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Ryuki was my god.
yeah, right. Like, there's so many levels going on in Ryuki, and the thing is, like, because we don't know Japanese, we're not getting it because like the way they're saying the lines and the amount of like familiarity and non-familiar, like the amount of honorifics and stuff that they're using and the way they're saying the words that they're saying is like changing the context, like showing how close or how far these characters are. And it's like, well, yeah, you can translate what they said, but you're not getting that, like, oh, these guys are getting closer, so they're talking slightly differently. It's
Right.
just one of those weird things.
Now, like in terms of
Generally, yeah, generally it's not that bad because like character dynamics are not, or especially in like modern shit, like modern writer, because they've kind of toned it down a little bit more for the kids and stuff. It's not so heavily like language based as it used to be, so it's a lot easier to translate. But like stuff like puns and stuff are still hard. Go ahead, Basha.
like for me, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna come out on just uh do the whole translation and do the editing notes or translator notes. Leave the shit that needs to be as it is and explain it. There are 2 times that, or one time that would much rather them just replace shit. Would be an instance of like if it's something where the explanation is a lot longer than it would be just to switch the fucking shit out. Like if I have to pause the screen for like 3 minutes to read a paragraph about a translation, I'd rather you just switch it to something that would make more sense.
Right. So this
But
is like one of those
that's a personal
situations.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
This,
because like it says, like I to me it breaks the immersion of it. Of I'm here to enjoy the visuals and the stories. Like I don't want to have to do research. I have to stop what I'm doing to learn something that intricate and then move on. Is like I'd much rather just, okay, yeah, that fits, it makes sense.
yeah. So
Because
this is one of those cases where it's like Ghost in a Shell and Monster, like there's like a wall of text, and like as much as I would want to like watch it in Japanese, you kind of just have to like pause the fucking thing and like figure out what the hell is going on with the screen. And like, yeah, most shows aren't like that, so most shows don't need that kind of like needlessly. Okay, the one recently that kind of annoyed the shit out of me is like at least if you're fucking translating shit, get the words right, right? Because like Land of the Illustrious, I think Crunchyroll did it, and it's like, oh, they they call their like teacher like master all the time, like in the subs, but I'm like they're not using the word for master, right? Like it'd be like shisho, right? Which is like, you're my master, I'm your pupil type thing. They clearly say sensei all the fucking time,
Which is more
right?
accurately teacher, if anything.
Teacher, or it could reflect whichever position you're in. It's just like a decent honorific, like because like they call Emu Sensei because he's a doctor, right? It's just like a professional honorific or teacher, but it's like it's clearly not master because there's a word for that, and like I'm like, this isn't even a localization thing. This is just you being fucking lazy, right?
Like,
Like, why are you using the wrong word?
and the other like the thing that irritates me is like the other thing that irritates me is if there's something clearly on screen. Because and Rai can attest to this. This pissed me off with fucking Kyu Ryuger.
Yep.
Because I got tired of waiting for TV Nihon, so I started watching. I think it was Overtime.
Key Ranger, by the
Overtime.
way.
Yeah, Q Ranger. Sorry. One of the first times they do like the major henshins and all this in the show, they put on it the names of each ranger.
Oh yeah, this shit. That's so annoying.
It literally puts in Shishi Ranger.
Right. Even
And
though like
it's like, and this is my thing, is like you don't translate names. This is
Right.
clearly
Or
a
that.
name. This is not Leo Red.
Right, which annoys the shit out of me because I'm like, the belt is literally yelling, or the henshin device is telling you what this form is called. Right?
Like,
Yeah,
and
names annoy the shit out of me too.
the with and then TV Neon ended up bugging me a little bit with it too, because later in there's a character, at least at the start of, that is called Sho Lam Po.
Yeah.
But they show his ID and it's clearly Sho Ron Po.
Right.
And they just never to me that's one of those points where at that point you go forward with the correct name. Don't bother going back and fixing it because that's a lot of work. Because I think that was like 30 episodes into the show. No point in go V2ing every time he's ever said it.
Yeah. I mean the other thing with that is it's an R, and like Japanese L's and R's are weird.
If this was written flat out in English.
Yeah, I know, but like
And
there's no way for them to know.
To be fair, it's a Chinese name.
Yeah, right. And plus, right, exactly. Plus, it's like a pun, so they just went with the thing that they're trying to reference.
Like,
oh no, that translated differently. It's like, oh shit.
Like, right. It's like, and like I said, it's like by that point, don't go back and fix it. Post with everything else. Just correct it moving forward.
To be fair, Toei romanizations are terrible.
Oh yeah, they absolutely are. But
I mean, the other thing too with TVN is they do hard subs, so it's a lot harder.
Right, and that's why I says like by that point, there's no point in going back. Right. Considering how much how much TV Nihon will actually go forth and change characters' names.
Oh, you mean like Satellite there?
Oh, that one's fucking stupid because they clearly say Zaya.
Yeah, I don't know where the there came from.
Well, maybe it's just like Japanese can't pronounce the th.
But the worst offender for that for TV Nihon is fucking or here or ear or whatever the fuck his name was.
That
for
changed like 6 times in the first arc.
Dude, is such a fucking pain in the ass name.
And then 20 episodes later, they settled on the final product.
It's like, and then we had and then for like Rear Soldier, we have, it started out Creon, Creon, then it went to Kreon, now it's Kleon.
Yeah,
I get that going forward is like you can find something out through magazine scans or whatnot for the proper way to translate shit, and that's fine. But at least commit to actually correcting it. But whatever you do, do not ever do what Overtime did with that chick who had Orion in Q Ranger.
Who?
What happened there?
The blonde chick who falls in love with Lucky.
Okay.
Because her name was like it's I want to say it was like Maya or so. It was some weird. It was a Japanese name, very much a Japanese name, and they just completely changed her name. Like they changed it to like Alice or something.
Oh Jesus, fuck!
I'm
I
like,
hate it.
y'all are because that came up to be an issue. Like, because I'd watched that and you guys had watched the TV Nihon version, and I started talking about the character, and all three of you were like, "Who the fuck are you talking about?" Because I was using the name that I saw.
Ellis.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it was Ellis in the show, and they named her Maya in my version. So I had that flipped, and it was like all three of you are like, "Who are you talking about?"
Well, yeah, like you could debate on whether it's Ellis or Eris, but either way, like so they straight
It's
up
not Maya.
They-
there's no way to get Maya out.
Right.
You're just terrible at your jobs.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. All right, like let's not start calling out some people because like they work fucking.
Oh,
Like okay,
I will give
they're
overtime
working
credit.
for free. You know,
Like-
translating a Japanese kids show with
Right.
fucking annoying runtimes.
Like
right? Let's not
like-
shit on the translators.
like I will give I give overtime a lot of leeway in the fact of just how quickly they're trying to put this shit out.
Right.
Because the main difference between overtime and a lot of fan subs versus TV Nihon is they just want to put it out. TV Nihon wants to put the work into it
Yeah.
to make it
be fair-
visually pleasing and as accurate as possible. It's like, and that's why I side with TV Nihon. But I can't deny the fact that they're doing a great job of getting this crap out, and it's fairly accurate, if
Yeah.
not very literal in translation.
Right. So that's the difference. It's like you have one group which is localization, and localization, okay, if you're officially doing it, is always going to be a little bit slower. Because you have to do like the legal shit and check and stuff, and you're getting the stuff later. But if we're going by literally, hey, shit just came out, both teams get the thing, translate, like localization wins, right? Because they don't have to preserve the sentence structure of the original saying. They can
Or-
just be like, boom, this
or
is
they
the
will
gist of it.
Either that, or they will literally translate it word for word, and that makes my brain bleed when I read it.
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, they're a smaller team, and they're trying to do their thing, which is fast, and they're more on the localization side, so they just kind of are a little janky, but you know they do their thing. TVN like has a process, right?
My God, do they have a process?
Yeah.
That process takes a lot of fucking time.
Yeah, it sure does. Especially with fucking like, oh man, like when the fucking translators show up to write like mini essays about like, okay, this is wrong, this is right, whatever. Okay. Yeah, like so here's the thing, TVN has I'm not gonna say staff, but like volunteers. I don't know what the numbers are now, but like usually what happens is you have a couple translators and a lot of QCers, and like QCers drop like flies because of course they do. Like like we're former QC guys. And the thing is like, yeah, like you can do as much as you want, but like at the end of the day, like whoever the fuck is translating, it's up to them. And so like even TVN has changed because like they used to be like classic anime sub style where it's like translate it, get it as close to what's being said as possible, and then put the translator's notes and all that. But now they've kind of come a little bit more closer to localizing it, where they're just like, okay, this is what this sentence means. We don't have to make it exact. So which kind of annoys me a little bit sometimes. But even then, they're a little more accurate than most.
That
subs,
might
but
be the
cost with that
product
is
of
it's
like
lower.
staff turnover. Like, oh, some translators are leaving, so we need new ones to jump in.
Right, like with I want to say it's Rhea Soldier. I want to say it was fuck, what the hell was his name? It was Taka initially doing him, and now I want to say Rhea Soldier is Loon Angel.
Yeah, I mean Luna is like basically Luna does like most of the translations for TVN. Taka does like basically the second most, but he's also doing other shit like running TVN and all
Right.
that
It's not
crap.
like because I remember when I want to say it was either right before build or right after build, it had switched to where Taka went, yeah, I'm washing my hands of the translation unless necessary and letting other people do it. Like 100% letting them deal with it.
Yeah,
which
to be
It's like
fair, like
and which
he's been
which
doing it for almost like what, like fucking Ryuki is the first one the TVN did. Um, so like, well, I mean, they didn't do it when Ryuki was coming out, but like, a little bit later. So let's say like, almost fucking 15 years or more.
right.
Yes,
right,
And
15 years this year, I think,
but I
or
mean,
last year.
but because of that, like the process is still the same. It's just taking longer because it's new people doing it and new people being at the forefront of doing it. So
Well,
it's
I
like
mean, the
yeah,
thing is,
and
like,
it
Luna's been there for a while. It's just like, okay, here's the thing, right? Like, we see Rider and we see Sentai, but what you don't see on the back end, or like most people who are doing the subs, is like all the other shit that's on the translation forums in the back, where it's like, hey, we're doing HT versions of this sub we did like fucking 5 years ago, you
and having to
know?
go find the type settings and the scripts
Yeah,
and
all
everything
that
else that was
shit.
involved in it.
Right, and then you have to QC that shit, and then the movies and all the other small series. So like everybody shows up for Rider and Sentai, but there's like at least like 10 other shit going on in the background.
and
Um,
just with translating things in general, like they take a lot of care into how they translate things. Because I remember reading a ghost thread where for an episode where people were like, "Hey, you translated this kind of weird," and the response was, "Yep, that came up multiple times during QA, but we're sticking to that."
oh yeah,
Like
sometimes I mean, like the QC ears do ask questions sometimes where it's like, why are you translating it like this? And then they do clarify, but not all the time because they're fucking busy. Um, but yeah, like so there is a process. It takes time. And then the other thing is like TVN again hard codes their stuff because it's easier depending on the format you want because then all you have to do is like, hey, I want this, but like I want it in lower quality or higher quality so I can put it on my phone. So you don't have to run around looking for like video players that can play subtitles. I mean, like that's pretty common nowadays, but when they started, like shitty internet days, like, hey, you're hard enough just to get the damn torrent to work, let alone running around getting the subs and timing and all that correctly. So yeah, they've always stuck to hard subs, which makes it harder to patch because if it's soft subs, it's just a file. You go edit the file, you're done, right? And like they do that when like I mean they're of course using like the official like subbing software, which is a pain in the ass. Um, but like once they fucking lock it in and it's hard coded, like yeah, to fix it is like, well, we're gonna have to go and re-release the video to fix this. And then you kind of have like a debate. It's like, is it worth it just to fix like a couple small things? And then
right, because
usually it's
like
like,
because
no, but like if it's a major fuck up, then you get a different version.
right because like one of the most common ones I see in the finished products that they tend to ignore is the fuck ups with the word the. Like that's like the biggest one I see consistently is like they'll like it'll be like HTE or the T will be attached to the previous word is like I'm fully
Well,
behind them going, yeah, fuck that. We're not gonna go back just to change that.
yeah, I mean, especially considering like that's just a form, like that's a format thing because like depending on how which character set you're using, like it could just do like character spacing weirdly. Also, what the ones we're watching are like the QC version, so they're not like
Oh,
super
like
clean to begin.
I'm
But
meaning
the
in the like the
official,
stuff, yeah, the official releases because I have a bunch of
yeah.
those because that's what I go back and rewatch and that's what I'm watching with Pixie.
Oh yeah.
So it's like we're watching the official releases,
Like,
and for a lot of the series, like we just started watching Deno.
like
This
you
Oh
show's
could
yeah.
been
Then
out
that's it.
for a good while and it's been QC'd to death. It's like, but there are still every once in a while there's a typo here and there, and but that's usually about the most that it is just like a typo.
Right. Like the T, like the T sticking to the previous word is super annoying because most of the time that's just goddamn formatting. Um, where it's like we literally typed it normally and it looks like it looks perfect on in the program that makes the subs, but then you look at the subs and it's like, oh fuck. Right? Like just the way that the subbing like program spits them out makes them look like they're connected even though they're not. Like even like sometimes you have to put like extra spaces because the weird like format or like the weird like character set you're using. um and again, that's kind of more of a problem because like DaVinci likes to fucking put really fancy ass subs, which he works super hard at. But like sometimes there's issues, right? But what are you gonna do?
Like my favorite game with Pixie right now is because we're going back and watching all of these old shows. Is to literally spot Zero and Decade as QCers. She started it. And I didn't even. We got to the little sponsor messages where they put them all, and just out of nowhere, because I think we were watching X8. She goes, "Oh look, it's Decade," and I'm like, "What the fuck is Decade doing in this show?" Oh,
yeah.
That Decade.
Because we just call him Decade, when in reality it's Decade.
Decado.
So, like, we just read it as Decade, and I'm like, my brain immediately went, why the fuck is Decade's not even in this series? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, now it's a game to see which ones we find.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to run out of mine pretty quick because I only did it for maybe like a year. Not even. Maybe a year. Then I stopped.
I'm still finding Decade.
Yeah, Decade, like, I think he's still working for them because, like, I guess he's just one of those weird QC guys who's super good at it. Like, because my biggest problem with QC is, like, it's not that I can't do it. It's that, like...
It's that you've got 90 other people doing the same damn thing.
Well, there's not that much. Usually it's, like, maybe 4 or 5.
In exaggerations. Like, but you're all finding the same fucking things.
Yeah, and, like, mine is especially bad because I'm like, oh, nice. I found, like, 6 things, and you go in like the thing is like, oh yeah, that got posted with like 13 things. Like most of your shit's on there. The ones you're gonna add, the translators are like, that's not worth my effort. Or it's like, ah, fuck it, too late, asshole. We already they don't say that, but it's like too late. It's already been hard encoded. But yeah, Decade, like, I don't know, man. He's just good at it because the way he does it is like he says he watches the episode and he just types it in. Whereas the way I used to do is like I used to fucking put it in like a text file. So it'd be like the one problem with QCing is you can't fucking do it live, right? So you have to like watch the thing, you pay super close in and then pause it and get the exact time, or especially if it like goes like loops where it's like this time to that time, but usually like the starting time, and it's like, okay, this is what the line says, then you type out your correction, right? So it takes like 3 times as long. So like a usual episode, oh, now they took out the fucking commercials, so they're shorter now. When I used to do them, they used to be like 30 minutes, now they're like 20.
So hey,
like 20 minutes, it'll be like 3 times as long, so it'll be like an hour's worth of work.
It's like us when we were taking notes.
Right? Yeah.
Like literally, it's like that's how I used to take notes.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Sucked.
I know, dude, man. I tried doing that, but I'm like, fuck this. This is too much effort.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it.
On a side note, we're now at 40 minutes and we've talked about Zero-One for about maybe 5 of it.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering this is a really good episode. Well, really good for certain characters. I know, right?
So we might want to swing this back.
Okay, so we get to see the different styles between the realtor and the human gear. The realtor, he has his like Zaya spec on. He's sitting in his cubicle on the phone with a client, like pitching to them over the phone as he gathers like all the information he needs about them through his computer. Whereas the human gear meets with their clients, gets a read on what their needs are to find a fitting home to them, brings it to them, show them like, hey, here's a nice home, great place to raise kids if you're looking for that.
Like, between the two of them, like, just to start with, is like she's obviously doing the better job in terms of what you would picture is to be the right way to do this. Because it is one of those things, is like with sales, is like there really is no right way, but there's very much a wrong way. And to me, really the only thing that the Zaya's person is doing is basically bullshitting them in the aspect of, you want to get it now, you want to get it now, you want to get it now, I've got other people lined up, that bullshit lie.
Well, it's that, and it's like, oh, this is a secret, keep it hush hush, it's a real good
like,
property. It's like all the classic BS.
Oh man, you'll be able to sell it for so much more in 10 years. Like, I almost want to buy it.
You want to buy a timeshare, bro? Like, this is just the classic sleazy timeshare sale.
And the sad thing, and this is the sad thing with reality, and just as is, it's 100% accurate, and it's 99% effective.
Yeah, well, to be fair, like I can't really blame this guy, because, like, one, he's in the business to live. Two, most people don't know what the fuck they're doing when they're buying a house. Like, how do you know what's a good house and what's not? Like, hell, he could go there and do exactly what she's doing, but, like, the previous owner can just, like, make the place look nice and hide all the fuck ups. Like, what's a realtor gonna do?
Right? Like, so it's
especially because like it's realty, which means it's all commission based.
Right, it's all commission based, and it's all a gamble in the first, a gamble as it is, because you can find the most perfect house. It's almost guaranteed to have something wrong with it, and depending on what that is, it might cost you a shit ton of money.
Right, exactly. I mean,
but especially if you're like, and this is where, like, I would side with the humor gear in that, is the humor gear would at least be able to properly research the place. I would say more effectively than, a human, because a human would go off of whatever the fuck he found. If he didn't find anything, then cool. It's like, but they're not trained building inspectors and all of this other stuff. It's like, where in this aspect, the human gear would have the edge, because she could do all that her fucking self.
Except she doesn't, because they got a carpenter dude. So I was like, okay, maybe she's like a building inspector, so like she has the program for that, so she'd be able to tell what the fuck's wrong or right. But it seems like she's just a salesperson.
She's just a salesman. She doesn't know how to fix it.
Right. It's like, not even the fixing thing. It's like she can't spot the problems, right? So like if she had like basically like a building inspector stuff built in, right, then it'd be like, all right, how's a realtor supposed to compete against that, right?
Right. This is where
they're not inspectors, they're not carpenters, they're just salespeople, fucking living on commission, trying to sell these fucking expensive ass properties in like, depending on how shit the market is. Okay, to be fair, it's fucking Japan. So like right now, I think their market is that's not true. I mean, it should be okay because the population is decreasing, therefore it should be a buyer's market, not a seller's market.
Tsunamis tend to help with that.
Well, no, it would be the other way, because less property. So then it'd be a seller's
but there's
market.
also less people. But there's also less people too. So it's kind of a trade-off. Depends on how much property damage during the tsunami.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't know. This is kind of one of those issues where I'm like, well, I mean, like, the realtor is like a real piece of shit, but like, he's just okay. Here's the problem, right? Like, the show portrays this character as a real piece of crap, right? What they should have showed him is just like a realtor dude just trying to get by doing his thing, because like his backstory is just like, hey, I used to be poor,
right?
And they gave you just enough to go, like, he started this career with the best of intentions.
Yeah. Well, my thing with that is, like, they should have said, like, oh, he forgot his ways. But the other thing is, like, oh, why did you get in this business? and they give this like real sob story. I'm like, this is such bullshit because like realtors don't get in the business of selling because they're like, shit, houses. I really wanted to sell. Okay, the ones on TV do, right? Or at least they
Well,
appear that.
so
Like nobody fucking gets.
they didn't explicitly say this, but what I took from that backstory was like, oh, he grew up in a piece of shit house. Maybe he
Right.
just inside was like, I don't want other people to have to do that. I don't want other kids to have to go through that. So I want to sell people houses so that they can
Like,
live
and
happily.
that's what they inferred, and what I feel they inferred with when he said that houses are dreams.
Yeah. What I was also getting was more like he used to be so poor that like okay, this is like how capitalism like fucks over the poor where it's like, hey, you want to get ahead, bro. You want to get ahead.
You know exactly why I'm
Just do
laughing,
what the
right?
successful people do, which is hey, just more capitalism. That's the only way to success, right? Like just do what everybody else who's rich is doing and you'll succeed. And it's like you forget that's not how it works. It's like most of those assholes were rich to begin with, right? Like you can't become a billionaire being poor. That's a nice story that everybody fucking likes to put out there. It's like, oh yeah, billionaires are really hardworking. I'm like, all right,
Well, that didn't work.
right? Like, no, not even that. It's like, okay, let's run that bullshit argument, right? Like, how does one person earn $1 billion? Like, you're like, okay, working really hard. I'm like, okay, working really hard. The person, right? Like, minimum wage is $15 an hour in Alberta, and the fucking premier is trying super hard to fuck that up, like everything else. But let's go with $15 an hour, right? Um, right? To actually live in Calgary, right? On what they like, the recommended thing is like you should, for rent or living expenses, you should spend 30% of your wages, right? Like monthly wages, right? For a person to do that, they would have to earn 18 to $21 an hour, right? It's insanity, right? And not even that, like the whole like billionaires work really hard. I'm like, okay, cool, they do, right? This is a normal, regular, poor person. They worked really hard. They worked 8 hours a day. Billionaire worked 8 hours a day. Why is the billionaire earning like 400 times what this person earns in an hour? How is one person capable of working for like 100 to 400 times harder than a regular person? Right? Like, is that possible? No. So it's bullshit. This whole thing of like, oh yes, the rich just work harder. Like, fuck that. Everybody works hard. Right? Like, so anyway, looping back to this, like he was clearly poor, so he went, got into a career. I mean, maybe he didn't want to fucking be a realtor, but just like being an accountant, nobody wants to grow up to be an accountant, right? Like some people want to grow up to be dentists, but that's weird. But at least that's something they want. Nobody wants to be like shit accounting. That's the career path I want, right? Like, okay, you can say, well, they like numbers. I'm like, they'd be a mathematician, right?
Okay, so like maybe he didn't want to sell houses when he was a kid growing up in a poor home, but as he went through school and such, he realized like, man, I don't. It sucked that I was living in poverty. What can I do about that? Hey, there's profit in selling in real estate.
Right. So like he just um took it. All right, this is real weird because like I was like almost a realtor, so this is like extra weird. Well, maybe not a
Well,
realtor. Actually, I
okay,
was
so
a
what was your motivation for
no.
becoming a realtor?
Actually, no, I was a life insurance salesman almost.
Okay.
Much worse.
No one wants to be that when they're kids. So what was your motivation?
My thing is, fuck, I need a damn job right now.
Well, oh, come on, right? If we're gonna use that phrase, we're gonna use it correctly. Nobody wants to grow up to be an insurance salesman. I mean, some people do, but they're weird. I will quote Zero's distrust of dentists back to him.
Yeah. Okay. I'm quoting fucking iRobot, but where it's like, what type of fucking 6-year-old wants to be a dentist? But right. And then the whole thing with the insurance thing is like you have to be a licensed broker, which means you need like a license, like fucking everything. This every fucking thing needs a license, which you have to renew, which means like, fuck, man. Like you can't just be like, yes, I'm good at this. Let me have this job. It's like, no, you gotta go recertify. Except for like salespeople, in which case you just kind of have to be good at bullshitting.
So like,
But like nobody wants to grow up to be a salesperson. Like very few people do.
so like
Like,
I
even then,
saw
that's not their first choice.
like I saw a movie once about a kid who wanted to be a dentist, but his dad told him he couldn't, so he ran away with a talking deer.
Oh, oh man, oh man, nice. Yeah. Oh dude, so good. Holy shit. Holy shit.
And that taught me a valuable life lesson at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
Never trust anything I say.
I was gonna say it's the whole thing of like, okay, Rudolph, what if LEDs had been invented? What, your whole like redemption arc of saving Santa in the blizzard? Fucking life ruined. Remember all those people who made fun of you? Guess what? They're
They
just
were
gonna
right.
keep doing that.
Oh.
To be fair, like I didn't think of that. I was watching a Thought Slime video, and he mentioned that. I'm like, you know what? That's fucking absolutely correct.
But
Also this image, Vashi, that you put in, where it's like,
Did you click the link?
yeah. Oh, I didn't click the link. I just
Oh,
saw it.
Click the link. There's more.
there's a punchline to it. That's why we were laughing earlier. Yeah, because you said the secret word.
Oh shit. Okay. Holy shit.
If for those listening, I did put it in the comments.
Nice.
Uh,
Nice. It's so good. Okay, we're gonna get back to him because he got like a lot of fucking character development, and I'm gonna fucking talk about that shit. But like, yeah, moving
Right.
on.
so, as part of his "I'm gonna cheat" plan, the realtor approaches the human gear on the job. It's like, oh, you people are gonna buy a house from a robot that doesn't need to use any of the utilities in the house. She doesn't sleep in a bed. She doesn't take a shower. She has no idea how any of this stuff works. You're gonna take her opinion?
And as much as I hate that, it's accurate. Like, it's a very justifiable thought process. It's evil and fucked up, given the motivation behind him doing it, but not inaccurate.
Yeah, so I was actually like, okay, you know what? That's actually a good strategy because, like, well, it's just a robot. How does it, like, here's the thing. This turned real violent real fast once he showed up doing that, which is really stupid because what should have happened is he should have shown up and turned up the charm and shown why he's like the ace realtor and like just like oversold the hell out of it. Right? Had like a property picked out, was like, hey, I found a better one, and just like sell them on like like the clients on a totally new property and show how good he is at doing his job. Right? But then he just turns into an asshole because like at first point he does have a point, like a robot doesn't know. And because
And then he's just a dick.
Yeah, and then he
shit.
takes it too far by pushing her into a pond.
Yeah, I'm like, that's so stupid because that was such a good setup, right? Because okay, you know what the setup for that was? It's the goddamn Ryuki salesman scene, right? Like show up and oversell everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what should have happened.
Like 100% is like, I fully agree. It's like the way this played out was stupid. The start of it was fantastic, and like I said, very accurate because you know you could, just like iRobot, you can stick the human gears in a closet and they wouldn't give a fuck. They're a robot. Whereas you know humans is like there's more to buying a house than you know the look of it. I mean, there's a lot of human elements involved in buying a house and what feels right, what fits for your needs specifically versus what a human gear would think you would need.
right.
especially with the human gear who because all in theory all she knows is what a house is. She doesn't know what a home is because those are two entirely different things. So this should have been that followed by, so here's what you should do instead of, I'm gonna be an evil shit dick and shove a fucking pole down her shirt and
Right.
then shove her in a lake,
Yeah, pond.
pool, pond, whatever.
Fountain.
Yeah, like honestly, what annoyed me is how the show begins. It's like the human gear is like just showing the first client around, and like this place clearly does not feel like these people's vibe. And then like she just sells it to them anyway. I'm like, that's such bullshit. That should have been the couple at the end. Because she's like, oh, I picked out this perfect thing, and she just showed it, and it's like, yeah, on paper, like the accommodations are nice, but like it doesn't fit their vibe, and he should have shown up and like sold them a better house.
Like to me, the what ended up working that over for me was the very end of it, when she goes, it's like, and there's even a room if you want to extend the family. He's like, and then the woman holds her stomach like a pregnant woman would do. And then like all of their entire personalities that you see, because they look thuggish and, for lack of a better term, the entire show is like, and this is very much not a thuggish place to live. And it's the idea that perceptions are different than reality. And she was able to see through the perception to the reality of the people based on the information she gathered from her look into themselves. So it's like she, by that point, is like, I'm sure she was able to find out she was pregnant and all this. And they're good, upstanding people. They just unfortunately look like bad people.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like that totally makes sense. I just felt like it was kind of a waste because, like, yeah, like the thing we just said would have made an interesting plot line, except they used it as the first case, and it's like you just threw the most interesting case right out and just gave the human gear the win. Right? Like, how's a realtor going to compete against that?
Right. Like, though I will admit the one thing that to me that made all of that was the let's pause time.
But you can still see Aruto is shaking.
They fucking saved by the bell. They saved by the bell us.
Oh man. Yeah.
And it wasn't just like, and when I watched it I was like, okay, that was interesting, unnecessary but interesting. And then it did it again. I'm like, oh great, this is gonna be a thing, isn't it?
But like, yeah. Like the thing to me is that like Aruto wasn't actually frozen in his because you could see him shaking to not drop the cup.
Right. It's like they did the true Save by the Bell thing, is like where everybody just stopped moving in whatever they were doing. It's like it was interesting to see.
To be fair, Saved by the Bell was like a long time ago, and like editing shit is expensive like back 80s, in the day. Not anymore.
70s possibly.
So there's no excuse for this shit.
It's funny.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of funny.
I mean, this show is very good with the comedy with it.
Yeah, it takes more effort to do it this way now than just to freeze frame it, right?
I mean, at least Toei and Bandai are getting better with this type of thing. They're not driving their main characters insane anymore because of how they're filming shit.
Yeah, I mean, after like, yeah, you're right. Probably after like Dena, they probably got their shit together where it's like, yeah, no more of this crap.
So
right, but tying back into another thing, it's kind of interesting that like, at first when you're seeing the preview, it's like, what the fuck does like selling a house have to do with being president? There's like, one, a president needs to raise company profits, so it's like, oh, that's a good tie-in for the president thing. And then the question is like, Human Gear asks Aruto is like, what's a home? And he has to think about it. It's like, oh, that's a good philosophical thing. And then right, and like Zaya's president's like, you're a human, how could you lose to a machine? right? Like a machine cannot replicate human things. Like, how are you losing? And then it gets into his backstory. So it's like, it's such a dumb thing. I mean, like, sounding premise for an episode, but it puts so many more interesting things into motion. Also, this has to be a fucking reference to something. This show, I mean, because like, okay, was there is is this like a TV show reference? Is this like an anime reference? Like, what the fuck is going on? Because like the way they're presenting is like way too specific, like on brand. Like this has to be a reference to something.
Hmm.
Right, with like the freeze frames, the graphics on screen, like
Yeah.
it's very much a reference to something. We just have no idea.
Right. Um. Anyway.
So,
Like to me, the one thing that they've done very, very well so far is going forward. Speaking of, Mr. Thousand Island, is they've transferred the Humagear hate boner. If Fua used to have it, he still kind of does, but now Thousand Island has it.
I mean, to be fair, it's more. It's
I mean,
more.
I know it's more of a fuck heat end thing,
Yeah, I actually. Okay, I'll get to him. Unless
but
we want to
but,
start.
but with the way that it's coming across, like it's being portrayed, like in the little meetings behind the scenes and all that shit, like in the offices, it's coming off very much a hate boner for Humagears.
Right. I mean, actually, I think it's a different way where it's like he says like, "Oh, I was just the president of Zaya, and like with just my brain alone, I made millions for this company, and this is where I am." And so every time he selects like a target, he's just like testing them. It's like, "Hey, you have to show the damn robots that humans are better because I can do it. So fucking do it, right?" Like, here's the thing: we know he has like he
Like,
doesn't age, so he's definitely a cyborg. And the thing with Shocker is like Shocker, original Shocker, does not recruit stupid people. Like as much as Shocker does dumbass shit, right? Right. Like the reason Hongo was chosen is because
because
okay,
his IQ was over 600.
yeah, IQ is over 600. He's a really good fucking motorcycle rider, and he's a biotech. Yeah, he's a biomed major. Yeah, right. So he's like Hongo is like crazy smart.
yeah, his college professor fucking sold him out. Like, hey, I
Right,
got the
right.
best candidate to join us.
To join us exactly, and so like imagine that character, except like they were on, like they were agreeing with Shocker's philosophy, and Shocker. Okay, basically, if you want to know what the fuck Shocker is, this is what Shocker is. They're basically like every libertarian idiot who's like all about yes meritocracy, the strong or just the best will lead us and all that. And then whenever they're actually confronted with like somebody better or something, they just backpedal and like find like capitalism's great until like somebody competes against you, and then you find like non-complete causes or like lawyers or just making monopolies and just shutting them down, right? It's like, yeah, only the best shall survive until somebody surpasses you, and then it's like, fuck that guy. I deserve to win. Why? You're clearly inferior. It's like, no, I can't handle that. Like, I
Like,
deserve to win because I'm rich and I will. And so, like,
like
imagine that guy and
that's
his
very
belief of
much
like, of
it,
uh,
it,
go.
like, and that's very much what Zaya is.
Right.
Like that is exactly what it is.
Yeah,
Fuck
which
you,
is why,
I'm better.
yeah, it's like he demands better because he's like, hey, I'm this good. Humanity should be good, and that's why we deserve to exist, is because like we're so clever. And that's the thing, like he's clearly part of the Shocker Club, and Shocker's thing is like it's full of like, okay, like if everybody's like Hongo, because that's what Shocker recruits, it's supposed to be full of like incredibly smart people who think they know better than the world and therefore they deserve to lead it. So just your standard fucking run of the mill like Suda and like all dipshits on the internet, uh, who just think like, oh, they can argue better, therefore they are super smart and they know better than everyone else. And and then as soon as you argue, they backpedal, and then you realize that no, they're secretly just fascist, right? Like they just believe in might makes right, and therefore they're in the right, and therefore everybody should just do what they fucking say.
And then by the end of it, their argument is, "No, you're stupid."
Right, exactly, and that's the whole thing of Shocker. It's like geniuses in power armor, right? Like they act super smart, they secretly try to run everything, and then once somebody finds out or once somebody runs a strong argument, they just turn violent. You know, like the fucking chuds on the internet do. Um, so like, yeah, this like I was not expecting Zaire to be like a like this kind of plotline, but like the way they've shown up and basically done Shocker in like the 21st century like so perfectly with just one character is pretty amazing. Okay, provided that he's working for Shocker, which we're like 99% sure he is.
And even if they don't ever say it, yeah, he's working for Shocker. This is 100% some Shocker shit.
Right. And like I really like that they don't make him just like, oh, he only cares about winning and nothing else. It's not like that. He cares about winning a lot, but he wants people to win the right way because that proves that he's right, because that proves they're better than dumbass
Right.
machines. And
Like,
it's like I could do it. Like why the fuck can't you?
Like that's why I liked that they did that with in the last episode where when the guy got called out for cheating, and he went, no, that's not how we're gonna win.
So
Fuck that.
and like even here, Thouser's like, "Hey, you're not cheating, are you? That home they were gonna sell was destroyed."
Yeah. I also like that how he picks, you're thinking like really weird topics to compete on, like flower arrangement, selling houses, and it's like, well, that seems weird, but think about it. Like, how does a comparing a robot to a human, like, where do you see the most differences? It's emotional stuff, right? Like,
Right.
art, robot, go beat me at art, and not something that you could just print out on a printer. You know, like
Right.
flower.
It's something that's very subjective to the person looking at it or the person buying it. Like it
Right.
he's picking things that in theory a robot should not beat them in.
Exactly.
You know,
And then,
it's
like,
not like
especially
it's
the
not like
home
he's
thing.
going, hey, it's not like he's going, hey, look, we have this awesome ass doctor. Let's put him against a robot doctor. Because there's no way in hell the human doctor is going to win that, and he knows it.
I mean, Hero,
Well,
but
unless I was literally about to say except Hero, because there's
actually,
nothing
no.
you can't cut.
Another Agito, maybe. But yeah, you're right. I mean, realistically, they shouldn't win. So he's
Okay,
picking
see,
things.
but with another Agito, all you'd have to do is headbutt him.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, it's fucking Hero. You could just throw some sweets.
Bring up his girlfriend.
Oh god. God damn it. Oh fuck. Um, but yeah, so it's really great that as as evil as like Zaya's president clearly is, like he's written really well. Like they're not making him just like the typical bad guy, which they
While
could
still
easily
making
do.
but it's like
No,
they're not making him the typical bad guy while still making him the typical bad guy. Like
Yeah.
it's a weird
So-
dichotomy. Like because overall, yes, he's the very typical shit dick asshole villain.
right, but at
Like,
least he
he's
has
got-
a code.
Like he's got a code. He, in theory, has proper motivations and a clear goal and reason for what he's doing beyond. I want to rule the world.
So
I mean, that is what they're doing because that's Shocker's plan. But his thing is like, oh, he wants to prove that humanity is better.
But in that regard, I want to talk about his hypocrisy. Now, to give him credit, he is calling out the people representing him on when they're cheating, like, hey, no, we're not going to win like that. But he will be the first to point out that, like, see, your human gear is rampaging. They need to be put down. Versus, hey, your humans are rampaging. Yeah, whatever. Just, they need to calm down a bit.
Right. Like it's a very and this is why like his characters like because there is that dichotomy there of where yes he's seems normal upstanding despite his evilness, and then with the hypocrisy is like, dude, you're just a dick.
Okay, to be fair, like most Toei shows give the humans a pass for rampaging because, like, okay, one, he's picking these guys, and when they change, like, he's not giving them the power to become the villains, right? He actually wants them to succeed.
Right, but
But he doesn't give a shit about the human gear. So for him, he's doing anything he wants to fuck over Hidan because, like, he clearly wants that company to go on.
yeah, he's just being a hypocrite because, hey, these humans succumb to the temptation of power and are now going on a rampage, and he is not saying anything about that.
I mean,
He's
to be
stopping
fair,
them, yes, he's doing his part to stop them from that, but with the human gear, he's straight up saying they need to be put down.
yeah, but the difference is, like, humans will be born regardless. You can stop a production line, right? So, like, he can't, like, unless he's saying, like, okay, here's the thing, right? Like,
Like,
yeah,
okay, here's what I mean.
it's not. I know what you're saying.
He is
I know what you're
judging
saying.
all human gear for
No, I
the
know.
few that are being hacked.
No. He's not judging them. He just doesn't give a shit about them. So he wants to. So his plan is to shut them
No,
down.
he is
So
straight
he's
up
saying-
judging them.
Yeah. But the point now, I feel like he already made up his mind. But yeah, okay, yeah, it's a judgment. But the point is, the human gear thing is just his plan to. He's like, okay, I'm gonna shut down Hidan. I don't give a shit what I have to say or do. Right?
Yeah.
On the human thing, yeah. Is it hypocritical? Yeah.
Yeah, which is what I'm saying. Like, he's being a hypocrite about it.
Right. But I feel like it's not bad because, like, that's exactly what he should be doing in his character because, like, realistically, he's like, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck it takes to shut down your company because I'm a rival
Except
company.
cheat. Even though I've been cheating.
No, well, he didn't cheat.
Oh, no,
And,
he made the arc evil.
Yeah.
Right. No. I know, but the arc being evil is all part of his plan to fucking take down Hidan.
Right.
Right. So, like, the whole Hidan thing for him is not a contradiction because, like, he never expected them to be good. Like, he's never gonna change his mind. His end goal is to shut down Hidan. He doesn't give a shit what he has to say. Is it hypocritical? Sure, but, like, I don't feel that as being a problem. The human thing is questionable because, like, literally every single goddamn writer is a hypocrite because they'll be like, monsters, put them down immediately, and then humans, it's like, no, they get a free pass, right? It's like the whole thing of, like, oh, it's a monster, we can just fight it with no problem, but when it comes to humans, like, oh, we gotta knock them out and let the cops deal with them, and that's the if you want to deal with them solution, right? Like, every single writer, like, okay, it's just Toei, right? Like, they don't want to fucking deal with the question of, like, humans. They're not great. I mean, like, the last time this happened was what, like, Ryuki?
No, the last time this happened was Gaim,
5?
where Kaido was going to straight up end the world and remake it.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean,
And then, like, those people built a literal bomb to try and blow Kaido up to stop him.
okay. See, that's actually pretty interesting.
And Peach Girl jumped in the way and she
Oh,
died instead.
right, that's what that happened.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, I think Gaim was the last to touch upon this.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, but he's a writer, though. Right? Like, nobody judges the civilians. Like, yeah, there's a lot of writers we call out for being douchebags. But, like, nobody goes like, oh yeah, you fucked up, human. Right? Like, you deserve to be in jail or die. Like, no writer ever says that.
And there's one slight possibility that we've kind of glanced over is Naki. Because Naki's the one running around giving out the raid risers.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's like, he, like, Zaya's president would be totally a douchebag if he was also giving out the ride risers, but he's not.
that we
So,
know of. He could
yeah, that's a good
literally
point.
be sending, because to be fair, so far it's literally only been the people that Zaya's chosen.
Yeah, but he's not.
Which, to
But
be
okay,
fair,
to
to
be
be
fair, he
fair,
wants them to succeed though. Like he genuinely, I feel like wants them to succeed.
right?
He
But
wants
again, it's like
a
this could
clean
still
win.
be a let's use this as a way to push them to interfere with the human gear to the point of getting them hacked and creating the rampage, and that still continues. Blah blah blah. Heaton still falls
Yeah, I don't
because
think
so long as that's still going, Heaton's image will never get better.
I
the
mean, to be
raid
fair, he
risers are
doesn't.
part of his plan though, because those are people and not the Humagear. He wants the Humagear to go on a rampage.
Right.
Right.
And
Also,
then
like,
I'm
there's no point of doing this elaborate plan. Like, if all you gotta do is just beat up some Hua gear to piss them off now, because like Satellite Zay is active, like, there's no reason for this like whole like nonsense of like, oh yes, this is my chosen one versus your chosen one, and my guy is gonna lose or start losing, and then he's gonna corrupt your champion. It's like that's too much headache and too like in your face.
right. I very much understand. Like the most logical explanation for it is Naki has, for lack of a better term, reached sentience, and she's going, "No, humans are still evil. Watch."
So
Yeah, that's a good point. Like maybe Nagi is going after like Zaya's president because like Zaya's president's like, oh, humanity is so much better, right?
Right. It's like because literally that was all the Human Gears plan. The Metsubai Jinrai's entire goal was is humanity is fucked up. We're gonna fucking kill them.
what is all of this going to say about Bowser's character when we find out he's a robot?
He's a cyborg. There's no way he's a robot. Um, yeah, because like it would defeat the purpose of him being a robot because then it's like, oh, it's a robot who hates robots, which means he was just programmed. So he's just another Matsubo Jinrai thing, and it's like that's kind of boring. He's a cyborg. That's why he's got this like fucking elitism thing going on, where it's like I'm superior, right? Like you fucking useless machines, like get out of my way. You're just holding us back.
I
Or
I have the best of both.
right, I have the best of both. Exactly. Like I can, like I was good to begin with. Now I'm even better. Like I don't need you.
I was at 100%. Now I'm at 1,000.
That's good. Um, I was also gonna say it's like, well, to be fair, like he's clearly Shocker. And the thing is, like, yeah, you can make robots to take over humanity, but like you could always break the robots. But what if humanity just became cyborgs? Then you can just control all of humanity, right? So basically, Cyberman.
Hmm. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I mean, Yua was in this. No,
No,
Fua was in this.
Um,
Well, I mean, they were both here,
kind of,
the
but I
the
found it inconsequential for
the
now.
only thing I did kind of want to point out was the brief moment when Fu is, you know, still interrogating
Hirobi.
Hirobi. Naki was in the room.
yeah. Like, what the hell was up with that? Like, super speed, invisibility,
No,
Or
it's just really
literally just
stealthy.
snuck in. Yeah,
or maybe it's just a projection because Wi-Fi.
like I mean, it's that's just one of those things where I'm sitting there, it's like, well, that's fucking ominous.
Yeah. Also, what's weird is like, okay, do we know who the fuck Naki is? Because I feel
No.
like it might just be Jin, but with like a female voice at this point. Because like
Like,
the hype thing is messing me up.
all we can do is speculate that it is the fourth member of Metsubo Jinrai, Death.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's literally all we've got.
I mean,
I mean,
considering
there's
Jin had to
speculation.
die.
Right. I mean, there's multiple points of speculation for it. It's like because I've seen everything from it's Jin to it's the new Assassin Chan to it's Yua.
No, it's not Yua. At this, I mean, like the Yua thing, kind of, it's questionable. I'd say that's the most questionable, especially with this episode because like, she's like, Bowser, why did you fucking have to say it like that? You know about the whole extinction thing.
Right.
And
Like
then and then
there are points in all of it that you're like, eh. But at this point, having seen the shit that this writer has done,
yeah,
I'm not putting anything past them.
right.
Because I mean, to be fair, in X8 they murdered off like 5 people like 4 times.
Did they? Oh my god, it's true.
The Parado died like twice in that show, and they just brought him right back
Oh,
because
God.
cultivation.
I mean, to be fair, it makes sense. But yeah, it's weird.
It's like, and with the fact that we're dealing with another version of artificial.
Yeah.
Oh, the fucking possibilities on bringing people back are endless.
Well, I mean, maybe not Izu. She doesn't have a backup, but we'll see. Um, but like, it's kind of interesting that like Fu is much more interesting. I mean, like his plot is really fucking dark. Like the way it's shot is like, wow, this is like fucking old school, like intense writer filming, all moody and shit. And then he shows up and he's like, "Hey, don't you have a job to do? Let me do mine, you do yours." And I'm like, "Man, you are like just the secondary writer now. Nice assist person.
Like, and
Like
to
you're
me,
so much better that
was
you don't have to be like, oh, I'm angry at the humor gear. And like Zaya's president's much better at that shit. Good.
like, and they did that very, very well. It was like with as brief as that scene was, that because they prefaced it with him, to figure out, who Naki is, what their goal is, all that is just to follow the Raid Riser. It's like, but when they get to the point of him actually physically going after that aspect, it's done really organically of, no, you've got other shit to deal with, go. I got this.
Yeah, I also like that how we've shown that he actually has a brain to be an inspector. Because he's like, how did you figure that out? Like, if you blew up, how did you know about this thing that just became active when you were deactive? Right?
Like,
what
I
the
mean,
hell's going on?
there's
So like picking up on stuff like that was nice.
like it's showing his valuability to Ames beyond just being that brute, hard-headed, basically Bond in the beginning of Deca Ranger.
Oh god, yeah, pretty much. I mean, to be fair, like he's kind of got like early Shudder thing going on, especially with the look. I don't know, maybe he's just looking for a Philip or something. But Yua in this episode, it's interesting that you're clearly seeing that she's like starting to like really fucking question his ass. Like not straight to the point because like what are you gonna do? Like Bowser can kill everyone.
Yeah, like,
there's nothing stopping him.
And the fact that, to me, the best thing about that was that truly started when Bowser showed up and beat the shit out of Fua.
And like, she knew before because he told her a few episodes ago, like, yeah, I was the one who made the Arc Evil and led to the creation of the Metsubo Jinrai. And she was like, shit, I've been working for the real villain all along. But now, with this episode, it's piecing together for her that's like, wait, he was serious about all of that. He really would have let humanity go extinct if the robots won.
Wait, what? That's what he meant? Okay.
Well, like, no, but that's what I'm speculating on Yua's opinion of, because...
Okay, so I was more thinking, yeah, fair enough. It's more like, I think, why is he just like so fatalistic? And like, oh yeah, that's a good point, because like, you're right, maybe it was like, just a test.
Yeah, because like maybe she thought before that's like, well, he obviously wasn't going to just allow Metsubo Jinrai to wipe out humanity, but then with this episode she was like, no, he was serious. If Metsubo Jinrai won, humanity would have just gone extinct. And she's truly realizing just how out there Bowser is.
I feel like Thouser would never, because like he's got so much of the shocker thing going on. Like I feel like he would never let
Oh no, he would
Matsubo
definitely
Jinrai
have
win.
fought back if it came down to it, but
No, no, but what I meant is like I think like the whole Matsubo Jinrai is just like he needs a villain so he can play the hero because clearly he is the villain, right? Like if nobody else is attacking, everybody else is gonna notice him, so he needs a smokescreen. So like
here's
I feel like he would never like give up the chance to rule humanity by letting them be wiped out, or maybe he would
here
have
here's the thing though.
allowed like a
Like
section to be wiped out so he can be like, I'm your savior, make me your king.
if like in the hypothetical situation where Aruto and Ames fail to stop Mitsubo Jinrai and he steps in to try and do it, if he also failed, humanity would go extinct.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. But I feel like he would make a plan so he would never fail. Like he would probably allow like a decent section to
Okay.
die
I
though,
I am
just to be their savior.
I am operating under the interpretation that there's nothing he can physically do to stop the arc without actually going in to fight it. He doesn't have some kind of off switch that he's just sitting on.
Maybe, but I feel like he's too smart to not have an off switch. Like because I'm operating on Shocker logic, and it's like there's no way Shocker gives up controlling the world. Right? Okay, to be fair, Shocker when they're smart, not Shocker when anything of reality of what Shocker does, where it's like, yeah, they obviously don't have off switches for anything, but like, like normally, like if you were planning things out, which Zaya's president seems to have done, he would have an off switch because, like, his end goal is not to do some giant duel of the fates of like, oh yes, humanity versus robots. If robots win, he's gonna let humanity fall. Like fuck that. His thing is like, okay, yeah, so a couple thousand people die. Who gives a shit? I'm gonna step in and save them. Like it's the whole um shit. Who's the company in build? Nama
Uh,
Industries. Yeah, it's the Nama Industries thing of like, oh, so they're hard smash? Good. Let them rampage a little bit. And then when we come in to save the day, everybody will thank us and we'll get more power. Right? So it's just like it's just a strategy to gain more power. Like I feel okay, that's assuming he has an off switch, which his character does seem like, but then again, he's also part of Shocker, so you have the Shocker dumbass modifier of like, no, they don't. Um, but you have the X8 Rider bonus of like, yeah, he would. So it's like, I don't know.
I've just realized their cartoon equivalent of Shocker.
what's up?
Professor Doofenshmirtz.
What? What is that?
Phineas and Ferb.
Phineas and Ferb.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh,
He's the type of brilliant genius who builds all of these doomsday death machines.
everything
Then,
he makes
giant
works.
Evil robots, everything works, but he either built because one of the big things was like they talked about it in the movie that they made. He was the type of guy who, yes, he would put basically suicide switches on everything.
Yeah, he put a
Like his
self-destruct
giant
button
robots.
on every machine he built.
Like his giant robots, but his dumbass put them on their feet.
What the hell?
Yeah, so they take a step and blow
blow
up.
Oh.
Like to me, that's Shocker. Fantastic
Yeah.
in theory, but fucking retarded.
Yeah, so maybe what's happening is like Zaya is supposed to be like comic Shocker, where they actually know what the fuck they're doing. It could be that, or it could be fucking the organization from Cyborg 001 or 009, sorry. Um, where it's like, yeah, they're kind of stupid, but like realistically, for the most part, they know what they're doing. Like basically, the problem is they have an ego, but they know what they're doing if they put their minds to it. So
Which, I mean, to me, that very much sounds like Guy.
yeah, pretty much.
I very much know what I'm doing, but I'm egotistical as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, like that's basically like Shocker's biggest downfall is like they're a bunch of super geniuses who think they're too smart to fail.
Which explains
Right?
why they go through the same plan 4 times before it works.
No, that's because they have a dumbass leader called the Great Leader. Because they're fucking
Leave the
fascists.
kid out of this.
No, not.
Okay. Everyone's
No, I
been the
need to,
great
like,
leader of
Cyclops
Shocker
early.
at least once.
Sorry, what?
Everyone's been the great leader of Shocker at least once.
Oh man, fucking Takumi being the Great Leader was the greatest thing.
But like so you said they think they're too smart to fail. Like that is Doofenshmirtz though. Like episode 1, he wraps the entire eastern border in like tinfoil or something, and then gets like a giant magnet to like pull the continents together or some shit like that. But all that happens is that all the tinfoil just pulls off instead, and then he just has a giant ball of tinfoil hurling towards his building.
Oh man, this is some like Robotnik level of nonsense.
Yes.
Yes. And and on a side note, he's constantly foiled by a martial artist platypus.
Oh,
Who's a secret spy.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so that's the show. I was thinking of a slightly different one, but I'm like, oh yeah, it's one of these two.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. It's, where Candace became the Queen of Mars. And then later ended up in Build.
Yeah, that joke I made.
Oh god, that's where that's from.
Yeah,
that's why I made that reference, is because Rye made that joke when she first popped up in Build.
Yeah, because she becomes the Queen of Mars, self-proclaimed, mind you, but like, and then Build happened, and I was like, I have to make the joke.
To be fair, Bernard just says she's the Queen of Mars. We have no evidence.
Well, she's the last woman left on Mars, so.
I mean, to be fair, Candace said she was the Queen of Mars too.
Yeah, no one actually objected to her.
Just like nobody objected to her in Build.
Nice.
I mean, you can make as many claims as you want. If no one denies them, then they might as well be true.
If there's no rebuttal, it might as well be true, right? Yeah, it's great.
That's why I consider myself the funniest guy on the podcast.
Oh, nice.
Which is sad, because I do spend half my time on the podcast just literally saying things just to get you guys to laugh.
Fair enough. Yeah,
especially if it fits and it's accurate.
Yeah.
Well, like Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I stopped doing that because I think I exceeded my dad dad joke quota. So I'm like, fuck it. Not worth it. But, man, I hope Yua does something because, like, it feels like she's clearly realized that, like, she's got to get the fuck out of here.
Like, because to me, it's like,
but I'm like, what's she gonna do now? Like, she has no play. Because, like, Thousand Island.
See, here. I am the king.
Nice. Actually, I said that before too while watching. I'm like, wait, that's not his name.
Yes.
But like, Thousand are like,
she has one play, and it's really the only play that works.
What, like,
is she starts she basically becomes the corporate spy and starts feeding hidden intelligence to take down Zaya.
I was thinking that's gonna happen, or we get the, like, how we took out Murakami, which is like all three writers team up to fight him, which is like the best fight in Fives, well, one of the best.
And then he still doesn't die.
Yeah, and he still does. Murakami is a tough bastard, which is great because, like, Murakami is like amazing antagonist wise because, like, he's literally like Guy, right? He's like super clever, really dedicated, has his own code. It's fucked up, but he's like, the best deserve to lead, exactly like Guy. And then he's tough as hell, right? So like he you know, he talks a lot, but like you basically can't even beat him. So like he's yeah, Guy is pretty much just Murakami 2.0. Uh, maybe not as well done. Well, that's not true. I mean, he has a higher success rate in his plans, whereas Murakami and the Clover thing had like a really low batting average at that point.
Their batting average was 0 by that point. Except for well, no, it was probably like 0.2.
Well, they killed a couple of the other
did
users.
Get the belt. They did get the belt.
Yeah. Plus, they killed like a couple of the. Well, they killed Delta, and fucking Kaiser, the improper Kaiser. So like they had some success rate.
But those weren't proper users.
Well, Delta's user, like Delta's first user was the best Delta user. She fucking died fighting one of them.
We didn't even get to see her use the belt.
Yeah, properly.
Yeah, so to me, not the proper user.
I mean, she had like the weird telekinesis stuff.
All of them had that weird, stupid shit.
No, I know, but like she had that weird like area effect thing going where it's like it just freaked the fucking Orphanact out. Where like she doesn't even have to be seen to mess with you. So like the belt was perfectly suited to her. It's just she fucking died, so they had to find a replacement.
Well, of course she died. It's Toei and female.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay, don't say that. We still have one that's going. Oh god, if we build up Yu's character just to kill her off, I'm gonna be so pissed. But to be fair, I wonder if they're keeping Yu around because, according to like the most recent popularity poll, like Yu is the number one character in this show. So
I feel that's wrong, but
yeah, I know. But here's the thing: like it's popularity polls, and they're always weird in Japan. And two is like Hame was the number one in Q Ranger. So I'm like, at which point does it's like, okay, she's just popular because she's the girl, and like 50% of the audience is already gonna vote for her, and then some of the guys will too, and then that just takes the lead. I'm like, that's kind of bullshit, but I'm like, she's super interesting, so I actually want her to stick around. So like again, like if they plan to kill her off, I hope this like a Asakura or Ankh situation where it's like she's too damn popular, we can't kill her, therefore we have to give her a story now.
Like I want it to either be that, or if they do actually go through with it, make it feel legit. Like, don't bullshit it like you do 90% of the females and everything. If you're gonna kill her off, have it be like a Poppy, I'm going to sacrifice myself for everyone type of thing. Even though Poppy's ended up not meaning a damn thing because she was brought back the next episode.
Yeah, that was so
she still died. That counts.
She still died. That counts.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I feel like Izu would be the character to do that. Like, I don't feel like
if they do that, I'm rioting.
Yeah, that'd be really annoying. But I feel like it doesn't match Yua's character to do like a grand sacrifice. Like it would work, but like
they'd have to.
She's too clever to just die out like that. Like,
here's
in a last ditch attempt maybe to take out Bowser. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Here's how you have Yua die. She betrays Thouser, and so he just ends up killing her in self-defense.
I mean, it makes sense, but I'm like, we don't
let there be a lot of build up to it.
Yeah, the problem with that is it leaves the door open for like anti-hero Thouser, and I fucking don't want that. Because if it's a mutual
come
fight,
on, we don't want Kaiser.
Hey, fuck you, man. Kaiser had an interesting story.
He spends half the time being an anti-hero, though.
Yeah, but that's because like he's fucking in love with Mari, and like everybody else keeps getting in his damn way, so he just really, really fucking hates them. And he hates the fucking Orphanact for what they did. And to be fair, like he's kind of indifferent towards humans because you have to remember, like he's pretty normal and popular-ish when he's just interacting with regular people. It's just the fight shit where like his worst stuff comes out because, and that's only because he's rushing to like get the fight stuff over with so he can go back to his normal life.
Of
So
getting
yeah,
the girl
yeah.
by
Well, to be
stalking and
fair, he
kidnapping.
didn't even think of Mari for a long time until like he re-saw her.
And
Well,
then
it's because it's because he thought she was dead,
Oh yeah, it's a good point. Right.
and then it was, oh shit, you're alive. I love you.
Yeah, feelings. What? Um,
Right. Like his character was fantastic, and the way they played it was fine. And I agree. I don't want anti-hero Thouser, mainly because as I see Thouser, no, he deserves zero redemption. I don't want him to be one of those characters that starts off, oh, I'm a shit dick. Oh wait, now I'm a good guy. Like,
yeah, like
we got
here's
enough. We got enough of that in goddamn fucking X8.
yeah, we got enough of that in everything. And the other thing is like, yeah, he would be an asset to the team, but I'm like, UF feels basically all that. So there's literally no reason for you to be around
Right.
after your arc's over. I mean, like you're cool enough character and well done, but like I don't want anti-hero Thouser. Like for fuck's sakes, we don't need.
If nothing else, let Zaya go under and have Thousand Island just keep popping back up randomly just to try to get his shit back.
Yeah, there's that, or you can have or you can just have Taya. I mean,
Hey,
Bowser
I
die
know.
or get taken out.
What
and
if
then
Thouser goes to jail?
Fuck that! He's gonna come back for like the worst arc. We're not doing that.
Well, if he goes to jail, then his son will take over.
Oh, fuck.
His
And we know
clone
what
son.
And we know what happens when we know what happens when children take over companies that were run by evil shit dicks.
Yeah. Well, to be fair,
They
like
become
I
an
don't
evil
think he
shit dick.
has kids, which in case that means just you is gonna take over, and I'm fine with that.
Well, no. What if he has a clone son though?
Fuck that. Well, no, because he's a cyborg.
Well, because here's how it's gonna go. He's gonna get arrested. His clone son will take over. He'll get arrested. Then they'll hire a rapist,
Oh god damn
then
it!
and then they'll hire somebody who makes burgers.
He makes burgers.
Burgamon.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that one.
The
Oh my
greatest of
God.
CEOs,
Oh fuck! I forgot about that.
who also
Damn.
fucks up and ends up in bed with the bad people because he gets tricked by boobs.
Shut up. No.
Did you not watch the true ending? He got tricked by tits.
Okay. Okay. Back on track.
I'd like to
like-
wrap this up. It's getting pretty
Yeah.
late.
Bowser, no redemption arc for fuck's sakes. Like he's a villain. He's clearly the villain. Like he's clearly fucked the most shit up. Like let him die, or get taken out or something. Like I don't care. Like I don't want him to become a good guy, right? Like that just defeats the whole purpose of the show. And I know the thing is like, oh yes, believe in humanity can be better, but I'm like Bowser already believes that. He believes they can be superior. You know, like you don't go to a fucking goddamn supremacist and go like, yes, guess what? Better. It's like, yeah, I know better. Get away from me, you worthless worm. You know, like that's not an argument that can win over supremacists. Like they already believe that they're on a fucked up. I mean, yeah, you can like maybe recover some fascists, but like it's not worth the effort. Especially not in a goddamn show, which doesn't have to be realistic.
Let Thousand Island die, and during the final challenge, when it's chefs, and have him die face first in a salad, like he should.
Oh my god. Oh fuck. It's like a Hojo thing that I'm thinking. Okay, forget it. It's not worth it. Yeah.
I don't see Thouser dying because this show is too scared to kill off people as opposed to machines, but I am curious to see how they resolve his arc because I don't want to see him redeemed either. This guy is the villain. That's how it should be.
Like I said, like even if it is one of those he gets defeated and then just periodically comes back because he's an asshole.
No, but the thing is, like, he's clearly
Like
working
the
for Shocker, so he can't come back because him falling would set up Shocker showing up. So he can't pop back up. I mean, maybe he goes away and he gets some of those Shocker buddies to come back him up. Maybe then.
Or he gets, the random upgrade to,
Oh god, yeah.
the Shocker Grand Leader.
Oh, well, that, or I was gonna say like the general Shocker upgrade of, yes, we've improved you to 150%, and we added this
exactly
obvious
the same.
defeat button on your chest. Good luck. I'm like,
Good
who
luck,
wrote
keeping
this? Toei? I love how fucking Akiba Ranger references that. Where it's like, yeah, the villain comes back, like the swordsman dude, and then he clearly has this like thing on his chest, which is his weak point, and he points it out. And it's like, why would you do that? It's like, and then like Akiba Red's like, that's just a pretty common thing, and like, goddamn, Inoue scripts. I'm like, let's not do that. I mean, it's very appropriate for Shocker. Oh, you know what's also interesting? So like, Inoue wrote a decent amount of Heisei Rider, right? His
yes.
dad wrote basically most of Showa.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's interesting. That explains why his take is so like just Rider but different, because
that also explains why Shocker keeps coming back.
Well, that's mostly Toei's marketing, because it's the whole like, oh, okay, it's basically Star Wars, where it's like, hey, didn't we just set up that the Jedi and Sith are stupid? And it's like, yeah, but Disney's like, Jedi are too marketable. we have to keep the damn Jedi. And so it's like, that's what Shocker.
I want to say Agito, Faiz, Kiva. I'm just naming off shows where the female love interest dies.
Yeah, I mean,
that's one of his tropes, right?
I mean, to be fair, like X-Aid Poppy, right? Yeah, it's his trope.
Was Poppy someone's love interest?
Well, she's the main female lead. I mean, Emu maybe.
I mean, I guess you can. He also has a mother complex too, because he does kill off parents.
Dude, no, that's just the standard writing trope of fantasy heroes.
Right, but I mean, it is seen a lot within like writers, like primarily with them, like the main writers just seem to have no family.
Yeah, but or that's like the standard Disney protagonist. Like, name one with both parents who are alive.
Right, it's like, well, they killed Genum's mother twice.
Did they?
Yeah,
oh, right.
Yeah, because they killed her to create Poppy, and then turned around and killed Poppy too.
Yeah. I was gonna say, fuck. There's like Blade, Housefire.
Right. Anyways, we gotta wrap this up. So, thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back on Tuesday for more Ryu Soldier. That show has taken a weird turn, but we're gonna see what happens. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
Thank you all for listening. We'll see you back on Tuesday and again on Wednesday for more Ryu Soldier and Kamen Rider Zero-One.
Okay, thanks everyone for listening. And yeah, this episode's really solid. Like, the last two have been really solid. So like, if you, I don't know why you're listening to this, if you jumped out of Zero-One, but like, if somebody's not into Zero-One, get them back into the Zero-One, because it's gotten really